So I think yeah, we will actually start our session of today. So namaste everyone. This today is our 11th session of Manav Vyavhar Darshan English translation reading. And so Vinayak had completed chapter 3 to a large extent, and there is some still left. So she will be completing that today. And after that, we will have Sanjana taking over with chapter number 4. So over to you, Vinayak.
Right, yeah. Could you make me co-host, please? I'll just start off with a small table that I put together.
Yes, I'll just do that.
Right.
Yeah.
So, just to begin with where we left the last time, we had spoken about the four kind of categorizations: the um, pranamay kosh, the annamay kosh, the manomay kosh, the vigyanmay kosh, and the anandamay kosh. Now, this is the categorization that the parampara or the tradition has done to sort of categorize um, the universe. Now, this categorization is like Babaji has slightly altered this, like how we discussed the last time, from how it's mentioned in the Upanishad, where in the Upanishad, the Anandamay Kosh is the final abode where the person, reaches this state of complete bliss, which is called Anand. But Babaji has placed Vigyanmay Kosh as the final destination, the final categorization, which is because when the human order is able to function with wisdom, with science, um, it like the human order would function automatically um, with knowledge, and anything done with knowledge would never yield results which are untrue. So, with that slight differentiation, Babaji has also categorized, Srishti or the universe in his own way, which is in the form of Roop, Gun, Swabhav, and Dharma, which is form, attributes, intrinsic nature, and innateness. So, like, I just rushed through this because we've already discussed this the last time. So, like how, material order can be seen as rock, soil, the oxygen atom, hydrogen atom, etc. The plant can be mango tree, neem tree, or whatever. It could be. It could be. Is my voice okay? It's telling me my connection is unstable.
Yes, your voice is breaking, Vinayak.
Just is it better now? Let's see if it's better now.
It sounds better now.
Yeah, it does. Cool. So, likewise, so I mean, what I just spoke about was that the material order you can see has different forms. It's in the form of rock, soil, or the oxygen atom, the hydrogen atom. Uh, the plant has different forms, like the mango tree, like a shrub, like grass. The animals also have different kind of forms. Likewise, the delusion, like the humans, are Asian, European, people of color, people of different ethnicities. Now, the geographical location sort of alters the route, right? So every individual um, plant, every individual animal, or every individual human would differ in their form, even if slightly. Likewise, when you look at attributes, whenever there is any mutuality between two units, there is some energy that is produced. That energy in the form of heat, pressure, electricity and magnetism is what happens when two units of the material order interact. Is the voice better now?
Yeah, it's fine. It's fine.
Yeah, it is fine now.
So likewise, say, plants, when say we are interacting with the plant, or another animal order is interacting with the plant, they could be sour, sweet, bitter. So these are attributes. These are the effect that one unit has on the other when there's mutuality between the two units. Likewise, when we are interacting with the animal, they could be obedient, disobedient. They could harm us. So likewise, when you're looking at a delusional human being, the attributes could be lying, cheating, treachery. Somewhere you're not full of vishwas or trust when you're operating with them. Likewise, with a delusion less human, creating order, care, or just participation, like selfless participation, are the kind of attributes that you'd see. But could I say that every delusionless human would behave selflessly in the same way? That won't happen, because every context would be different. Every delusional human would lie the same way. That won't happen, right? So what happens is that Roop and Gun, your form and attributes, are very specific to the unit. Hence, they are constantly changing. They're not permanent entities. But Swabhav and Dharma, your intrinsic nature and your innateness, are permanent entities. Hence, they are not of the unit, they are of the complete order. Likewise, we discussed the last time that the material order intrinsically would want to integrate or disintegrate to form further, chemicals or other, like through physical combinations, other elements. Likewise, the plants would either be vitalizing or devitalizing. Now, the same plant could be vitalizing in one situation and devitalizing in the other. Like it could be useful for the snake, but harmful for me, you know. So, likewise, the animal, one could be cruel to another, yet uncruel to, a different animal because he's now less strong. So the difference is the order would represent integration, disintegration, vitalizing, devitalizing, cruel, uncruel, and it would be with respect to the other unit. But the order in itself would exhibit these intrinsic natures only, and nothing beyond this. Likewise, this delusional human would express like would when it's participating in mutuality, the activity would be in the form of cruelness or treachery or surveillance, where the participation won't yield order. Likewise, for a delusionless human, he would operate to provide justice. He would operate to ensure that everybody in his vicinity is comfortable and sort of evolving further. So likewise, when we look at innateness, existence is the material order's intrinsic innateness. To grow or growth is plant orders. The hope of living is the animal orders, and living with happiness or fulfillment is the human orders. And like we discussed the last time, the lower order would automatically be contained in the higher order. So the higher order for the plant, existing and growing, is its innateness. Likewise, as we move forward, for the delusional human, for like living happily and hoping to live happily, along with growth and existence, would be its innateness. While for the delusionless human, it would be living not only with the happiness of the self, but of everyone involved um, in the purview of existence. So he would want to live with justice. He would want to live, you know, with truth being innate to his activities. So moving forward, I could stop sharing. Bhaiya, could you put the book up?
Which is the page we want to go?
Yeah. So we can just start off with this. We'll start off after Sarak Marak. We've discussed Swabhav in depth. Yeah. So
Okay.
so it's clear that right. Where can we go further down? I think I discussed Swabhav in depth. Yeah, we could go further down. Yeah, I'd start off from here. Okay. So like that's the last point we discussed, that the activities of the material order are contained in the biological order. So likewise, the moment we go to the higher order, the activities of the lower order are in any way contained in it. So coming to this point, the units of knowledge order contain the activity and intrinsic nature and propensity and perspectives of the three orders as described above. Additionally, they have the opportunity to study and experiment with knowledge, wisdom, and science through the conduct of fortitude, courage, and generosity, while exhibiting righteous desires for progeny, wealth, and reputation in their behavior. Completeness or incompleteness in these pursuits demarcates a humane or inhumane perspective. Is my voice okay, Bhaiya? Like,
Yes, everything good.
right. So I just like to mention here that the knowledge order, it contains the activities of the lower orders, right? The intrinsic natures and the innateness of the lower orders. But because the human order now is equipped with free will and imagination, like how Babaji has put it, he has the ability to experiment and study. Um, he just does not exist like the other orders. The other orders do not have an option but to behave uh, how they're innately, intrinsically designed to. But the human order has the ability to study the universe, study the functionings, and has the free will to be able to experiment. Now, how is this order also being governed while being imbued in space? When we conduct an experiment, we yield success. And sorry, we seek success. And success would be a result that would not alter any given parameters, any given variables. The result would stand true is when we would consider our experiment successful, right? So something that is permanently and universally true, like Sarvbhaumik and Sarkalik, would finally get us to believe that we've hit bullseye. And when that happens, that's when we feel elated. So that's how the human order is also, disciplined in existence, because we seek fulfillment, and fulfillment would only be when we achieve truth, or are able to understand the functioning of the universe in its in all correctness and identify truths. That's when uh, we could say we have a greater understanding of the universe and completeness in our perspective. So, like the line reads, completeness or incompleteness in these pursuits demarcates a humane or inhumane perspective. So, the more complete our perspective, the more humane we would be as an entity. So moving forward, if we are functioning with humaneness, we would represent ourselves with fortitude, which is fortitude is dedication and perseverance towards justice. So ensuring that no party is left behind, ensuring that whoever we are directly interacting with is feeling that he's um, got his due. There's been justice. So this dedication to ensure that every interaction of mine with another unit would ensure justice for myself and the other unit is fortitude. Likewise, when we would talk about virta or courage, the tendency to deploy one's intellectual and physical abilities to make justice available to others is courage. So now, using my bodhic and bhautik shamta, like my material possessions and my intellectual capacity. So using everything to ensure justice is available to everyone around me is courage. And generosity, that's udarta. So udarta is the shisht mulya of mamta, which essentially is, I could call it motherly, like care. So when a person is in the care of a mother, there is absolute selfless utilization of resources. There is no, like she would go to whatever extent to ensure comfort for the child. Now, uh, making sure that one uses their tan man dhan, their body, mind, and wealth to ensure that the others are comfortable and able to evolve further. Such generosity and such righteous utilization of your resources. So a person with complete knowledge of how utilizing these resources with this other is going to make him evolve further. So this doesn't apply to a mother who ends up, feeding parathas to the child. My mom's listening, but it's not the paratha. Like I love parathas. So it's not a mother who's just overfeeding a child because she's generous. It's a mother who knows what the child needs to make sure he's fit, like you made me, mom. So
Oop, sorry. Yeah, we're back on the screen. Yes. Vinayak bhai, yeah, I think you got dropped off. Yeah, I think Vinayak got dropped. We'll wait for a while. Should be back. So basically here we are studying the knowledge order, and the nature that has been identified is fortitude, courage, and generosity, right? Fortitude is dedication and perseverance toward justice, and courage is about deploying one's intellectual and physical abilities to make justice available to others. And generosity is to the tendency to happily deploy one's comforts and facilities for others by way of utilization and righteous utilization. I'll just call him just a moment.
Hello.
Yes, Vinayak, you're back.
Hanji. Sorry, there's something off with the internet today. Right. So, um, I apologize for the inconvenience. So moving forward, it's um, so we were at Udarta
Generous,
and how
generosity.
righteous, yeah, how righteous utilization would ensure, would be the third uh, kind of activity that a person who's trying to function with humaneness would exhibit. So, moving forward, the states of delusion, discerning, and delusionless of humans becomes obvious only through the study and experimentation of knowledge, wisdom, and science. So, like we discussed earlier, because humans have the ability, am I audible here?
Yes, all good.
Right. So, because humans have the ability to experiment with knowledge and as a result get wiser, so they could constantly evolve from a delusional mindset to a mindset that is delusionless, and the delusionless would be of the functionings of the universe. So here, when we're talking about science, we're talking about being delusionless of the laws that govern the plant order, the material order, and the animal order. When we're talking about wisdom, we would talk about knowing oneself and its his own permanence completely, and the um, the laws that govern human interaction. And once one understands how to function with all the four orders, one understands what existence really is and how coexistence is really existence, which is knowledge. So these infinite activities in the universe and the entire universe is saturated in the omnipotent, omnipresent, in the omnipresent omnipotence. So I think we've discussed this at length. I'll move on further. The entire matter is infused with effort as a result of being inspired in omnipotence. Without effort, the development or decline in activities and their results cannot be observed. So this is one of the most maulic dharnae of the darshan, the most elemental principles that the darshan shares, where any effort, an effort could be looked at as the intrinsic nature or the innateness of the unit results in a motion which can be looked at the attribute or the gun, which yields a result. Now, that result is in the form of something new that has now come into existence. That is Roop. So, the avibhajyata or the inseparability of effort, motion, and result is a law of nature, and it exists permanently and universally. So, when the material order exhibits effort, it evolves to the biological order. When the biological order exhibits effort for evolution further, it evolves into the animal order. Likewise, the animal order evolves into the delusional knowledge order, and the delusional knowledge order with effort gets to a state where now this effort is in a state of rest, in a state of permanent restfulness. This is when he completely understands the functionings of the universe. He does not need to alter his mindset any further because he completely understands how it functions. So, um, moving forward, effort, that is shram. Effort means advancing to a higher status. which can be studied in the form of transition from physiochemical status to sentient status or Jivan. Development as Jivan is studyable, understandable, and realizable in the form of awakening progression and awakening. The term realizable refers to being evident in the tradition of behavior. So this is again another anusandhan or another innovation that Babaji puts forth, which has neither been discussed in science or in traditional scriptures, where Babaji is now stating that the existence is vikas kram vikas, jagriti kram jagriti, where development is, there is this constant evolution, and the units are evolving and developing to a Jivan. The Jivan is the most stable atom with which is organized with 61 subatomic particles, one in the center and the others in its orbit. This permanently stable unit or atom is now free of weight because it does not have any attraction or repulsion. This is called Vikas. Now, this Jivan will utilize the capacities of the brain in either the animal order or the human order to whatever level the brain has evolved. So the Jivan would utilize, would use the brain to exhibit its glory, its range of activities. And when it does so, it would behave in a state which is restful, which would create order, which would be just in every scenario, which would be generous, which would be, like full of prem. I don't know if you're calling it love, but full of prem. What are we calling prem here?
The word love has been used as such,
right?
Not in the conventional sense.
Right. So a person like this very evidently would be in a restful state. And in fact, that is the reason why, someone like me who's not been able to stick around to a certain job or a certain field of occupation has been able to stick around in Manavdeep, because you find people who are comparatively more sorted and you want to achieve that restful state. So, or comparatively more restful state. So it's very evident in their behavior. It's very evident in the decisions they take. And it's by living with them and seeing the decisions that are happening, that one understands that, where one himself is stuck and what a better outlook or perspective, what a more evolved perspective could be. So the thirst for restfulness equals the perturbance of effort, because the entire effort in the knowledge order is for the destination of restfulness status and its continuity. So the idea is, if we get unfulfilling results, we feel that our efforts were wasted, which is what is Vishram ki Trisha. Vishram ka Shobh, like Shram ka Shobh, sorry. And when we don't have to alter our efforts because our efforts have led to the correct result earlier, it's called Vishram ki Trisha, because now we're in a restful state because we have the solution to the problem. So the constantly going in circles and yielding unfulfilling results leads us to this thirst for restfulness, is what this point is conveying. And once we achieve all our efforts achieve this state of restfulness and are continuously restful, That's when we start operating as a human. So I'd like to conclude here, and Babaji's words of may there be universal well-being, because a person who's functioning humanely would ensure universal well-being. Thank you.
It's very nice, Vinayak Bhaiya. Thank you for very nice presentation. I think it is a fairly involved chapter, and both you and Nivita have done a good justice to both chapter 2 and chapter 3. So, in case anyone has any questions, I would like them to ask Vinayak now. Yes, I can see Drishta clapping, or is it a hand raise? Okay, so yeah, so I would basically like to you to make an, I mean, though you did mention something about your experience at Manav Tirth, I would like you to also talk about how the experience that you have of at Manav Tirth, how has it affected you as a person and as a family?
Right. I think I was the whole education system possibly that we were put through, and like working corporate jobs or trying to run my own advertising agency. I think innately what I wasn't enjoying was uh, you know the individuality, and not the collectiveness. Like I just, it's like after college you just can't make a good true friend, because there is profit in the center of every interaction. I think over the past 5 years, I have been able to understand how the power of the collective is way more than the power of an individual, and how being a part of a whole and operating as a whole just yields better results and keeps you also more fulfilled. So, really not prioritizing your own agenda, but um, identifying that there's this larger agenda in place, which you're supposed to participate in, and that's your duty. I think that's the biggest learning that I've got in Manatit, and that's what's been fun and is keeping Nivi and I going.
Very nice. Not just Nivi and you, even Durva. So I can see, I mean, your energy that you bring and the positiveness that you bring is really palpable and something that we all look up to. So wish you all very best, and thank you so much for doing this. I hope that you keep joining these sessions as and when you get time. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Thank you, Bhaiya. Thanks for the opportunity, Bhaiya.
Okay. So I would like to now invite Sanjana. Sanjana will lead us through the next chapter, that is the human purpose. And so if you basically see that the chapter number 3 is giving you a broad view of how the universe is. And now the chapter number 4 is now going to humans' role, right? The purpose of human being. It's important to actually have the large canvas view where how what all is there to understand that, and then find out what is my purpose in it, right? So this chapter is about the human purpose, and I will invite Sanjana to actually lead us through the reading of this chapter.
Hello everyone. Thank you, Chachaji. Am I audible? Can everyone?
Yes, you are audible. Yeah, very nice.
Thank you. So thank you for that introduction, and I think it very nicely leads, into the fourth chapter. I actually really like this first half of Manav Vyavhar Darshan, because there is a very nice sequential logic to how the chapters are placed. So, till now we can see that the chapters have been taking us from a macro sort of a view to more deeper and a more micro view. So with each subsequent chapter, we are actually moving closer to the crux of the book, which is the holistic view of human behavior. So, it's important, as you said, to get a full context of where we are placed and then slowly delve deeper and deeper into it. And that is how we see how these chapters are also placed. We start with Sahastitva or coexistence, which talks about overall existence, both the material reality as well as the omnipotence, or Vyapak. And then we move into Srishti Darshan, very nicely covered by Nivita Didi and Vinayak Bhaiya, which talks primarily about, the material reality. So we saw a lot of things about elements, compounds, atoms, soil, and the various properties of various substances, and an overview of the four orders, and also how all of them, with their unique properties, have a purpose. So, we've seen plant order, material order, etc. They are mutually complementary, they are mutually helping each other's purpose. And then the natural next question is, after all of this, what is the purpose of human beings? After all, why are we here? So, and I think the interesting part about this is that this is a question that human beings have been pondering about for a very long time. So even when we look at, for example, ancient Greek or ancient Roman philosophy, these are questions that human beings have grappled with for a long time. Different philosophies and different schools of thoughts all over the world have had people thinking over this question. And sometimes when people thought too much about this question, they landed up in an existential crisis also. After all, why am I here? What am I doing? So this has been an important question in the journey of humankind. And I feel very fortunate that, we all have access to these ideas written by Babaji with so much clarity and so much precision and so much groundedness that, these will serve as a very good reminder and a very good direction to all of us when we think about our purpose as human beings. So before I start reading the chapter, I just want to give a quick background about when I read this chapter for the first time, some thought that I had. My attention immediately went to the fact that before this, every time I used to think about my purpose, and there were a lot of times, when you are growing up, you keep thinking, why am I here? What should I do? What is my purpose, etc. And there were many times, and I would always think about my purpose, like as an individual, in the sense, in terms of my career, my relationships, my identity, what are my future plans, what is the nature of my contribution or my participation. So the beauty of this darshan is that this actually made my attention go towards with it actually made me think about purpose in a different light. That first thinking about what is human purpose in its collectivity, and what is the human purpose that is universal for all human beings. And maybe a different way of thinking about this could be understanding the collective human purpose and then aligning my sense of purpose with the collective human purpose. So, Babaji's proposal that there is, in fact, a universal purpose, and we don't have to create it or find it. It is already there. We just have to sort of realize it. And within that collective purpose, my individual purpose also to a large extent, which is to attain realization, which is to be free of delusion, etc. To be in a state of restfulness, as we will read further in this chapter. This is already, this is already there. And I don't have to create this purpose. Once I realize that this is my purpose, then my specific program or my specific activities or the nature of my participation in the society, that can be decided in alignment with the larger overall purpose. So, I have personally found this chapter to be very enlightening and very illuminating, because it has actually helped me think about my purpose very differently. So for that, on a very personal level, also, I am very grateful to Babaji. And I think with that, we can start reading the chapter. So would you be sharing your screen or should I do it?
The way that you would, if you feel more comfortable sharing, then maybe you can do that if it helps you in moving around better.
Okay, I think maybe it would be better if you do it because I will be
Okay.
reading from the book. So, my
Okay.
here. Yes,
Yeah.
great. So, with a lot of gratitude to Babaji, let us start reading this. Chapter 4 is the human purpose. Humans on this earth are engaged in endeavors and experiments to know and recognize their significance solely for attaining restfulness. So, this is a good introduction to this chapter. Uh, till now, a lot of us actually associate restfulness or this word Vishram with physical restfulness. So I think this is an important definition by Babaji that the state of restfulness is not actually physical restfulness. It is internal restfulness. It is internal harmony. It is sort of internally how all our faculties from the man to the atma are in alignment with each other. In that there are no dilemmas, there are no confusions, and there is no delusion. So, an internal clarity and an internal sense of restfulness is what is meant here. In our delusion, since we have not understood that we are the body plus the self or the jivan, we often equate restfulness, the desire for restfulness, as a desire of restfulness for the body, while in fact, this actually indicates restfulness for the self. I really like, this word Vishram. For most of us in India who have been in school, we have been a part of things like march past or parades. And this word Vishram is used in contrast to the word Savdhan. So Savdhan means, fully standing in attention and your shoulders are very tight, your neck is, fully upright. And it is an attention which sort of requires, it is a position which requires your body to be very fixed and very sort of, not in a very easy to maintain position. It's very stressful in some ways. And then the opposite of that is Vishram. And the what I find interesting is the English translation of Vishram, which is stand at ease. So, actually that sense of ease where you don't feel any kind of burden, where you don't feel, any kind of pressure of any sort, that I think, is what is meant by Vishram and what is meant here by restfulness. So, what Babaji is saying here is that all our endeavors and all our experiments, everything we do basically is to attain this state of restfulness. The end goal of everything we do, even if we are doing a lot of hard work right now, preparing for exams, building huge careers, building houses, getting married, starting families, etc., etc. The entire purpose of all our activities, everything we do, is to eventually attain restfulness. So again, the beauty of this chapter once again is that the first line in this chapter is about restfulness, and as we go ahead, we will see that the chapter closes on a note of restfulness as well. And then the next chapter actually is talking about restfulness in itself. The next chapter is called Nidramta Hi Vishram, and which talks about restfulness actually as the state of being free from delusion. So, I think it's a very nice full circle that we see in this chapter. And as we move ahead, we will see how it plays out. So let's go to the next line. More than one human coming together or becoming organized is referred to as a family, community, or indivisible society. In the awakened human tradition, indivisible society is evidenced along with the universal. So, with this, I think it has become very clear, Babaji very clearly states that the human purpose is not an individualistic pursuit. It has a collective side or an element of collectiveness to it. So I think just placing the idea of human collectives right in the beginning of this chapter, prioritizing the fact that this is something that we have to see from a collective angle or a collective point of view. It is very important in building our understanding of the idea of human purpose as well. That, as I said, it is not about my career, my identity, etc. This is something that we have to see in its entirety. So when more than one people come together, when they become organized, it is known as a family. It can be known as a community. And when all so many people come together, it is indivisible society. And in the awakened tradition, which is in the Jagrit Manav Parampara, this is evidenced along with universal order and the universal system basically, which basically encompasses the 5 dimensions in which we live. So, the dimensions of education, health, production, exchange, and justice. So, this is what is actually, these are the components or these are the elements that make this universal system flourish and come together. Let's go to the next one. For an organization, commonness of cause and goal is necessary. For its sustainment, commonness of the program is also necessary. So these are important words, that we have here. Commonness of cause, commonness of goal, and commonness of program. So right at the top, we have commonness of cause. And, the cause is understanding existence as coexistence. So the basic knowledge underlining everything that we do is the fact that our existence is coexistence. It is coexistence of the physical or material reality as well as the omnipotence. So with that understanding, with that common knowledge backing everything we do, it becomes easier to do things together. And then further, the commonness of goal. So there, for example, seeing as a collective, seeing resolution, seeing prosperity, seeing fearlessness, all of these things in Hindi, seeing, for example, Samadhan, Samriddhi, Abhay, Sahastitva, seeing all of these as our collective goals. This becomes important. And then further, the commonness of program. Here, it doesn't mean everyone follows the same program, but it means that there is a sort of harmony in the different things that different people are doing. So, for example, in a family, when we have say 8 or 10 people living together, not everyone will be doing the same things. Someone would be outside the home and say engaged in production. Someone would be inside the home taking care of cooking, cleaning, etc. Someone would be responsible for taking care of the children. So, in terms of the karyakram or in terms of the activity, everyone will be doing different things. However, all of these would be aligned with each other. And for all of these to be aligned with each other, the goal has to be common. So, in the home, everyone doing different things is possible when the purpose of the home or the purpose of the family is clear to all members of the family. And then behind that common purpose of the family is the common knowledge that existence is coexistence. So actually, when I see these 3, levels, Karan Samyata, Lakshya Samyata, and Karyakram Samyata, I actually am able to relate them with 3 other concepts of Gyan, Vivek, and Vigyan. So current samyata or the commonness of cause I'm able to relate with. At least I understand it as, being on the same page in terms of knowledge or gyan. And the commonness of goal I see in terms of vivek. And finally, in Karyakram Samyutta or the commonness of program, I see it at the level of Vigyan. So, for example, the technical side of things, the how of things, how we will go about achieving things. So this will be different for different people, but this will be complementary. So let's go further. Humans cannot accomplish any program, behavior, or production in isolation. This is self-explanatory. They are the most evolved beings on earth, and there is no unit on earth more evolved than them. Humans prove to be the most evolved because number one, they are capable of utilization, righteous utilization, exploitation, and nurturing the rest of nature. Number two, only humans are the knowers of attributes in intrinsic nature and dharma of humans and rest of nature. Number three, humans possess intrinsic nature, behavior, and realization that are not found in the rest of nature. So here, Babaji is making it very clear and in a very systematic sort of a way why we are calling humans the most evolved beings on earth. Often, this is actually this is a very this is I mean this idea falls into a very contestable territory because in terms of science, we fall in the Animalia order, which is basically the same order in which all mammals, fall. So at least in terms of biology, there is technically no difference between us and say monkeys or chimpanzees or even blue whales. So what is it that makes us feel so strongly that we are more evolved than all the other beings on earth? Here are three very clearly stated, specified reasons for it. First, that we are capable of righteously using, or even exploiting the rest of nature. The extent to which, in fact, human beings have exploited nature, no other species, has done it till now. And the potential we have towards nurturing the rest of nature, no other species has that as well. So, when I went to Manav Tirth, for example, I got to know that when humans start taking care of cows, for example, when humans get involved in the rearing of animals, it makes the animals stronger than they would be by themselves on their own. So, we are capable of doing all of these contributions towards nature should we want to do so. And of course, exploitation also, the way we have depleted so many resources, no other species has done that. So, that is the first point. The second point, that we humans are the knowers of attributes, intrinsic nature, and dharma of humans and the rest of nature. So the way we are able to recognize, even in our currently, deluded sort of a state, the way we are able to recognize what other entities in nature are, and we are able to draw up common properties, etc., of them. We for example don't see any other animal engaged in studying the rest of nature the way we are studying the rest of nature. And similarly, continuing that, we also possess certain intrinsic nature, behavior, and realization not found in the rest of nature. So Vinayak Bhaiya, had detailed through the Roop Gun Swabhav Dharma of all the four orders, and we saw that there are certain, intrinsic nature, behavior, and realization that humans have that no other order in nature has. So if we look at it progressively, we do see that we possess certain attributes that are not present in the rest of nature, because of which Babaji is stating that we are the most evolved beings on. Okay, so this is, the kind of anubhuti that we call round the wicket, because the way it begins, it sort of goes full circle.
That's interesting.
Comes back to where it started. So let's take a look at this. So sociality gives rise to needs. Needs give rise to experimentation and production. Experimentation and production give rise to creation of wealth. Creation of wealth gives rise to utilization, righteous utilization, and purposeful utilization. Utilization, righteous utilization, and purposeful utilization give rise to behavioral harmony. Behavioral harmony gives rise to humaneness, and humaneness gives rise to sociality. This cycle is meant for indivisible sociality. So let's take this step by step. I think one important thing that Babaji does in this chapter, and specifically in this Anubhuti, is to place the material needs or the material conveniences and their role in maintaining sociality. So I think this is also very important, because the way a lot of Indian philosophical traditions have emerged, they have sort of downplayed the role of material conveniences or material elements to a certain extent. So when we were growing up, for example, we used to hear a lot of ये सब मोह माया है, this is not real, this is just an illusion, and we don't really need all of this, we don't need physical material conveniences, etc. So this the way Babaji has expressed this right now, it really helps place what the purpose of material conveniences is. So let's take this step by step. First, sociality gives rise to needs. So this is important, right? When we see the purpose of needs, the purpose of physical things we need. For example, if I look at my house, there's a dining table, there are some chairs, there are places where people can sit, there are utensils on which we can eat, etc. So actually, our needs are defined, or our needs are sort of largely governed by the fact that we are social beings. So left to ourselves, one might think that I need such and such, I need so much, and that it might feel like there's an endless possibility of the kinds of needs I have. When I see the purpose of all my needs as being one that tends to samajikta or my sociality, it helps me understand what is the purpose of my needs. The purpose of my needs is to be a social person, which is to actually be in the state of exchange of values with other people. So when I see the purpose of a chair or a sofa as a place where people can come so that we can meet each other and exchange values and feel fulfilled by that exchange of values, that is when I'm able to make a more realistic choice about what exactly I need in terms of my avashakta. So it is actually the sociality that gives rise to needs. It is when in other words, actually I can say that when we see our needs in the overall umbrella of samajikta or sociality, we are able to define our needs, or we are able to sort of clearly define how much we need in a more realistic fashion. So that I'm not sure if this has come across very clearly, but basically when our needs are governed by this overall idea of sociality, we are able to make better choices and better decisions realistically about what we want. So once we know what we need, what we need is our avashakta. Basically, we need to produce according to that. And that is why the production, which can happen either in terms of, knowing clearly what we want to do, or also in terms of experimentation. Often when we go out to produce, we are, we might not know very clearly the various steps to follow. So there might have to be some stages of experimentation, where we are thinking, where we're tinkering around. For example, those of us who have been to Manav have seen the bamboo factory. So, if we speak to the people there, they will also share that it wasn't as if the entire process A to Z was very clear since the beginning, right? There was a bit of experimentation. Then there was also a process of realizing that, hey, what we thought is the discarded material can also be used, for some other purposes. So production is actually, it's based on a lot of experimentation. That is why both of these terms are used together. And then experimentation together with production give rise to creation of wealth. So when we for example, we produce, when we are experimenting with natural resources, we produce something which is of value, and because it is of value to other people, they they are able to purchase it from us in very simple words, and that gives rise to creation of wealth. Then creation of wealth gives rise to utilization, righteous utilization, and purposeful utilization. So, utilization is basically what occurs at the level of the family. Um, uh, Righteous utilization is what occurs at the level of society, or the samaj, or the larger overall set of people that we live in. And purposeful utilization is actually what happens at the largest level. If we look at utilization in terms of the overall akhand samaj or undivided society, that is where we see purposeful utilization. So we will actually define all of these words later on, but just to give a quick idea of what where this ambiguity is going. So all three of these then together give rise to behavioral harmony. So actually, when all of these are happening in balance with each other, in harmony with each other, people are also able to live together in a better way. So when our needs are defined, keeping in mind the exchange of values, keeping in mind, the fact that we live in a society and we have some common goals and purposes, because of which then even when we engage in production and experimentation, we have these common goals, etc. in mind, and together all of it leads to behavioral harmony. People are able to live in harmony with each other. They are able to live in collaboration with each other. So behavioral harmony gives rise to humaneness. This is self-explanatory, and humaneness then further gives rise to sociality. When humaneness exists inside us, when it exists as our intrinsic nature, we are more sociable in our behavior, which then sort of strengthens this cycle, making it a virtuous cycle. Let's quickly look at all of these words. Indivisibleness or akhandata. This means that the human purpose manifests in the form of essence and elaboration of indivisibility and universality. So, there is an because of the omnipotence that all of us are submerged in or immersed in, there is an indivisibility and a universality in everything that we, in our purpose, in everything that we are striving for. And that is what actually creates this indivisible. Sociality or samajikta means fulfilling the values inherent in relationships and associations. Needs or avashakta. The strong desire for adequate resources determined by a wise family for fulfilling the values itself is the need. This is meant for bodily nourishment, protection, and societal purpose. So this is very important. Essentially all our needs, our physical needs or our material needs, they come down to nourishment, which is poshan, protection, which is sanrakshan, and societal progress, which is samaj. So any item that we see, we think that we need, any material creation that we see, or we need, essentially at the root cause of it, it is serving one of these purposes. Adequate resources. So adequate resources was actually a term used in the previous definition of needs. That is why it is being defined here. So adequate resources refer to the resources necessary for ensuring balance in behavior among humans, prosperity in experimentation and production, and evidence of awakening in the tradition. The adequate resources are the objects offered and devoted for bodily nourishment, protection, and societal progress. So, the resources which are used uh, for all of these purposes that we have been speaking about, these are the adequate resources, and these are what actually translate into our needs. What is experimentation? So we've discussed this earlier. The endeavor till becoming successful, right? So till we are in the stage of trial and error, basically, it is an experimentation. And again, it is to meet a human need by instilling utility and aesthetic value on natural abundance by deployment of labor. So this is experimentation. Production or utpadan. The process developed for standardizing the experiment through deployment of human labor, wherein there is an inherent desire for maximizing output, is referred to as production. The production is differentiated by common aspirations and special aspirations. Let's see what common aspirations and special aspirations are. So, common aspirations are the objects utilized in food, shelter, and clothing. And special aspirations are the objects utilized in transportation and telecommunication. So this is interesting, right? What basically what is being demarcated here is the fact that not all needs are always required by everybody. So the common aspirations, food, shelter, and clothing, these are basically sort of universal human requirements. This is what everybody needs at all points in time. So whether you are living in say city or village or any kind of aspiration, any kind of career or activities that you are engaged in society, all these common aspirations will remain mostly common. So the nature of them might change. So for example, the food will change from region to region depending on where you are. For example, in certain parts of India, there might be certain foods that are more common, but food as a need will remain universal everywhere. Whereas the special aspirations, which are the objects used in transportation and telecommunication, these are actually not always required by everybody at all points in time. And the needs for this actually, depend on the work that you are engaged in or the participation in society that you are engaged in. So, say, for example, say someone is uh, engaged in a local village occupation. If we look at the 10 the Sopanya Vyavastha or the 10 levels of living, someone who is mostly engaged at the village level, they actually might not have need for very frequent, very long distance kind of travel needs. Whereas, someone say for example the prime minister of a country or someone who is maybe overseeing a large industry somewhere, they might have need of frequent long distance travel. So the special aspirations needs will change depending on person to person and situation to situation. They might be more common for certain occupations, might be less common for certain occupations. This actually brings to mind how we have ended up equating special aspirations with a certain kind of status in society. And when Babaji places this so clearly in terms of them serving a purpose, it actually brings to question the other sort of subtext that we associate with special aspirations. So we often associate a bigger car with with larger societal status, or we often associate say better means of communication, like having a more advanced mobile phone, as a superior status. So when we look at these things in isolation, it's easy to attach these kinds of connotations to them. And when we actually see them as objects of utilization, it becomes clear. It becomes very clear that actually these are things serving a purpose. So they are useful because they serve a purpose. As long as they are serving the purpose, it is of course uh, the purpose that they're serving is central, not the superficial meaning that we end up attaching to them. So actually, a few days ago, I was watching a video on YouTube, and there were elections in Netherlands. Netherlands is a small country in Europe, and the prime minister had changed. So it was a very small clip, but it was very meaningful. The outgoing prime minister basically he went out of his office and he rides a cycle to work. So his cycle was was sort of waiting outside, and he very nicely exits the office and he waves to there were some camera of people assembled, some press, and he waves to them, and he sits on his bicycle and he goes off. So the message, of course, is that it's a small country, it's a small city, and the prime minister, of course, he's a prime minister, but since distances are small, he doesn't really need a huge car or a convoy or multiple security people surrounding him when he travels. He simply needs a bicycle. And I mean, in India, we can't even imagine something like this happening. In fact, it's quite on the contrary here. Recently, this has been making big news that, an IAS officer has, she put this red light on top of her car, and, it has been causing outrage in a lot of places. So the meanings and connotations that we attach to the special aspirations, it really begs the question that what is their purpose? So when we see a car or a bicycle simply as a mode of transportation, it really helps us place what we need, and therefore, then we make efforts to obtain what we need for our circumstances. So if I don't need a car, then I will not spend a lot of time in thinking about how to buy a car, then getting a car loan simply for the status of it. Then, if I look at transportation, a bicycle and a car are, kind of, I mean, it depends on what I need, not what status is attached to them. So, I really like the distinction that Babaji has drawn between common aspirations and special aspirations, because uh, I think it helps place a lot of things in perspective. I think, Chachaji, it's 9:17 right now. Maybe we can pause here and take some questions if you think that's okay, or I can go on as you advise.
Yeah, let's take a pulse. I mean, if there are any questions, then maybe we can take those now. It's going on very nicely. I think you're doing a great job. All the explanations that you have given are very good, very relatable. Uh,
Thank you, Chachaji.
so, any questions or any remark anyone would like to make?
Even for the previous, sharing by Vinayak Bhaiya, so if we want to take some questions for that also, since there are only 10
Yeah,
remaining, we can pause for.
right. So we can actually take any questions so far. Otherwise, Renu Didi, you want to say something?
I wanted, if you don't mind, that whole
Yes,
cyclical around the wicket, cricket field kind of thing.
around
If
the
you can
wicket.
just around the wicket, yeah. If you can just briefly go through it again, it will help me understand better.
Yes, maybe I can give it a try, Sanjana.
Yes, yes.
So basically, our needs are determined by the sociality, right? I mean, it's quite normal that the society in which we live, it gives rise to our needs. If we do not identify ourselves with the society, we are not able to determine our needs definitively. So unless the sociality that we have is identified, we are not able to identify our needs definitively. And if the needs are, once the needs are identified, then we know that, okay, what we need to do for fulfilling those needs. So experimentation and production are the activities that we engage for fulfilling those needs. So in the today's world, we are actually instead of doing the production, we are actually earning money for that, right? But finally, at the end of it, somebody needs to produce for that to fulfill our needs. So experimentation and production has to happen for fulfilling that need. Experimentation and production will give rise to wealth. Wealth not in terms of money, but in terms of the goods, right? So experimentation and production will give rise to the wealth, creation of wealth in terms of the objects that we need. Then creation of wealth gives rise to utilization, righteous utilization, and purposeful utilization. You see, this is what needs to happen. But what actually in the absence of understanding what happens is that wealth gets converted into money, and then money and it basically gets hoarded. And instead of getting into the cycle of utilization, it gets into converted into money, and then we trade in terms of money. So that's the difficulty that he has. So he's giving the righteous cycle of this whole thing. Then
Can you tell
this,
me the difference between the three: utilization, righteous utilization, and purposeful utilization?
yeah,
Is there a difference? Yeah,
yeah.
I
So
must
this
ask.
is the same thing that Sanjana also said. Utilization is within the family, right? So you use it for your own needs. Righteous utilization is for actually in your participation in the society, in giving in for your relationships and so on. You have certain obligations and which you need to be fulfilling. And purposeful utilization is that you deploy the resources for building a tradition, right? So this is the purposeful, like for example, participating in education or um, conducting a program such as this, right? It is a purposeful utilization of resources. Righteous utilization of resources example is like, for example, you have utilized your resources for coming over there to Canada to basically uh, be of use there, right? So that is your righteous utilization, right? So then righteous utilization and purpose utilization gives rise to behavioral harmony, right? So that is another thing. And behavioral harmony gives rise to humaneness, and humaneness in turn gives rise to sociality, right? So that is completing the circle. The idea of the circle is also interesting. If you look at it, the nature is inherently circular, which means that it basically keeps generating. It's not linear. Like linear things would be that, okay, you use and then after that it ends, right? So while circular things are something that starts, it regenerates from the point that it has. So Babaji used to say that Samadhan is circular in nature, while problem is linear in nature, right? So so that is pretty much what.
I wanted to check something here. Would it be normally in the past we've heard it's the circle starts from first you have to be humane and then the whole cycle will go on. But here, Baba starts from creation of wealth and creation of sorry, he gives sociality, gives us the needs. So I was wondering if it can start from anywhere, the circle, or this is the only starting point.
See,
Is
when
there
the
a
we basically the purpose of the use of language is to convey an idea. Yeah.
Mhm.
So whichever way that you basically convey it the best, you would actually do that. So I would imagine that it would be possible to actually start the cycle from anywhere, but starting from experimentation and production would not really make sense. You need to see the
Hmm.
connection. So there needs to be, while it is circular, it makes sense to make a start from a uh, from some point where you can connect it back. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
Okay. Is there any other question that we have here? Yes, Raghava, you wanted to say something? Yeah, we have Raghava also here with me. So, okay. Uh, Sanjana, maybe we have time, so why don't you actually read some more?
Sure, Chachaji. So we had read till experimentation.
Ji.
Uh, the the complementary word actually is production. So in experimentation, we are still in a trial and error stage. And when we come to production, the process developed for standardizing the experiment through deployment of human labor, wherein there is an inherent desire for maximizing output, is referred to as production. The production is differentiated by common aspirations and special. Oh, no, wait, we had read this also.
Okay. Yeah, we had read this.
Yes, we had read common aspirations and special aspirations. Now we are on Arthopaj, earning of wealth.
Yeah.
So, earning of wealth, the definite measure of utility and aesthetic value obtained through the planned deployment of human labor on natural abundance is referred to as earning of wealth. So this is fairly straightforward, right? For example, if I take a block of wood, which is a natural resource or something that is found in natural abundance, and then we deploy human labor on the block of wood and convert it into a chair or a table, for example, then basically there is a utility and an aesthetic value derived out of the finished product, which is the chair or table. And this actually refers to the earth or the wealth which is earned in this process. So we are referring to material resources here. Again, this is an important distinction that Babaji makes, that wealth actually is in the form of resources, not in the form of money per se. So banknotes or bank balance is not the money. It is actually the utility and aesthetic value obtained through human effort on natural resources. Utilization, righteous utilization, and purposeful utilization, as we have discussed, in detail already. Utilization is the deployment of means of production and seva. This is usually, what is done at the level of the family. Righteous utilization refers to deployment of resources in the form of body, mind, and wealth while participating in the family-based self-organizing system. So, for example, the same resource, like you said, for example, using it for the larger society that we are a part of, that could be righteous utilization. Uh, for example, if I use my laptop to create a software which makes it easy for the society or the group of people that I am living in to maybe record uh, certain things that they might need to record, that could be righteous utilization of the laptop. And the purposeful utilization or prayojanshilta refers to deployment of body, mind, and wealth towards indivisible society and universal system upon awakening. So now all of us are using our laptops to connect together and create these sessions where we are discussing all of these things which will be useful for all the generations to come. So this is actually using our laptops for prayojanshilta in a certain way. Behavioral harmony or vyavharikta, which was actually, again, towards the closing of the circle that we saw in the Anubhuti, the humane conduct is referred to as behavioral harmony. So when different people are coming together with the objective of exchanging values, and they are able to live together while exchanging these values, it is known as behavioral harmony. The study of indivisible sociality is based solely on intrinsic nature, propensity, and perspective of humaneness, and the societal system is meant for its protection. So, when we talk about the indivisible society, where people are living together as one with the common goal and the common purpose and common objective. Um, the uh, the humane intrinsic nature, the humane propensity, and the humane perspective. So, swabhav, which is dheerta, veerta, udarta, daya, kripa, karuna, all of these will come later. And the humane propensities or wishes, and the humane perspectives, which is nyaya, dharma, satya. These are basically the building blocks, or the base, the roots on which the indivisible society is made. And it is to protect this indivisible society that we make various societal systems, we make various vyavasthas, we make various checks and balances to make sure that this system is protected, that this system is conserved. Basically, protection means that this carries on to the next generation. It becomes something that that remains in continuity, in perpetuity. It becomes a part of the tradition or the parampara. So, to ensure that it goes forward from one generation to the other, we create certain systems and structures. These are known as the samajik vyavasthas or the societal. It is 9:30, Chachaji, so maybe we can.
Yeah, I think we can stop now and close today's session. I think it was you did a fantastic job, especially I like the point where you started that defining that human purpose. Yeah, so where you basically
One second.
define the human purpose, that it is not just individual purpose, but first understanding that what is purpose of a human being, and they're actually aligning up individual purpose. That was so much making sense. So, so look forward to actually your next session on so today is Saturday, so we'll meet on Tuesday. I think you'll require one additional day for you to complete the thing, which is all right. We will see as you'll cross
Half
the.
additional day, Chachaji. According to my calculations, basically all of Tuesday and maybe 40 minutes for exam.
Okay, so we'll see how it goes. Yeah. ठीक है जी. So we will stop now and wish you all good night and have a nice day wherever you are. Namaste.
Thank you. Thank you, Sanjana. It was lovely. I understood. Thank you.
One, yes.
Hi, Sanjana. It was really a pleasure meeting you here in this session, and you did a wonderful job. Thank you so much. I really loved it.